To me, enough is enough. They just wanna hurt us. Bring us down. Bring us down. Enough is enough. We won't let them hurt us. Bring us down. Bring us down. Enough is enough. You won't bring. Enough is enough.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Indie Wrestling Corner with another episode of Under the Ropes. I'm your host, as always, the queen of the Indies, Tiffany. So it's the last Under the Ropes interview. So what, we saved the best for last. So welcome, my good friend, Perry Von Vicious. How are ya?
Good. Thanks for having me.
I'm so excited that we can finally do this. We had you a little on my Indie Talks episodes where I've come up to grind. So I'm glad we get to do a formal interview, getting ready for Wrestleville this week. So excited. So exciting.
Yeah. It's going to be a good time and a heck of a way to end the year.
Definitely. It's going to be a good time. So make sure you guys all check it out here. I'm going to post it up for you guys that are watching the video of this right now. So Thursday, it starts. We got all these amazing shows Thursdays, and then we're bringing out the new year with Beyond. So definitely check this out. I will be there for all the shows. So if you see me, come say hi. But yeah, so here on the Under the Ropes series, I interview everything independent wrestling, whether it's wrestlers, promoters, referees, backstage. I got you covered. If you guys got questions for Perry, please feel free, drop it into the chat. I'm sure he'll be more than happy to answer all of your questions. So, all right, so let's see. I already see Captain Dave in the chat. What's going on, Captain Dave? How are you? So I saw you got engaged. Congrats. So awesome. So awesome. So please hit that like button, hit that share button. Let's get some people in here. So, all right. So I like to go back to basics, like I like to call it, for all my interviews. So we're going to go back to a little bit to the beginning for some of the people that may know you and may not know you. So let's start from the beginning of how you actually got into professional wrestling.
So my first experience with pro wrestling, I come from a monstrously big family. On my mom's side, she has 17 brothers and sisters, including her twin sister, my Aunt Joan. And I was probably 6 and had stayed over at Aunt Joan's house with my cousins, who were really, not just emotionally like siblings to me, but because they're twin sisters, kind of like half siblings almost. Like genetically, you wouldn't know the difference. So I was hanging out with them. They're a little older than me, and they were watching wrestling. I'd never watched. I was, again, I was like 6, and my family didn't watch wrestling. And I watched as, it should be noted, I'm terrified of snakes. I watched as Jake the Snake got tied up in the ropes by, I don't even remember what villain, and a man in a mask came out and pulled the bag with his snake to the middle of the ring, and it turned out the guy in the mask was the Earthquake, and he gave the Earthquake to the bag, killing his pet snake. And I don't like snakes at all, and I was traumatized so badly at the idea of someone watching their pet get killed.
Oh my God.
I was like 6, and it destroyed my world for a week. I didn't understand I didn't know anything was fake. I didn't know anything about these characters. I just knew one guy had a pet and another guy sat on it. And did not think about wrestling again for a very long time after that. And then probably about the time I was 13, my brother and I had a Sega Genesis and had no games for it. Mm-hmm. And that same cousin lent us the WWF Monday Night Raw game, and we became obsessed with it. Mm-hmm. And then one day I happened to be flipping through the channels and saw that Monday Night Raw and WCW Nitro were both on TV, and there were characters on both shows that I recognized from the games because WCW had picked off so many of the talent. And I was, my dad did not want us watching it because my brother's a year younger than me and just as big, and the last thing he needed was the two of us imitating this stuff. But I became like quietly obsessed with it. Like anytime dad or mom weren't like within eyeshot of the TV, that was the first thing that would go on. And I was so just immediately into it. There was something about it that felt so, it felt bigger than life and at the same time so accessible.
Yeah.
Like, especially as a little kid, you're like, I could do anything they're doing.
Right.
I could pick up my friends and throw them. We do that all the time at recess. But at the same time, there's 10,000 people in the arena losing their minds for them, and it's like that's what I want.
Yeah.
And so from then it was it kind of moved quickly right after that. The Attitude Era kicked off, like in the months that followed. At which point, everyone in middle school with me became obsessed with pro wrestling. As NWO and Austin 316 shirts as far as the eye could see. Which made high school and middle school very easy to be a fan.
Right.
And then I left for college, and I was in bands and in theater and not really thinking about wrestling, except that I was gigantic. I was 6'3", and at the time close to 300 pounds. So I dwarfed all of the little theater geeks that were my friends, and I couldn't get roles. I couldn't get a good role to save my life, even though I was pretty good in theater. It was just because like no one wanted a leading man that looked like Andre the Giant next to all the little theater kids. And someone said to me, they're like, have you thought about pro wrestling? It's kind of like theater for giants. And I was like, I love pro wrestling. I should really get back into it. And that was right around the time that like Punk was debuting for the WWE's version of ECW. Mm-hmm. And having been a lifelong straight edge myself, it was like I immediately had a character to latch on to. Mm-hmm. And it just immediately I was telling my friends, like, as soon as I'm done with college, I'm going to get trained, and I'm going to at least get to the point where I've done an indie show. Like, that was as far as I could imagine. Was just I can get on a show. I know I can get that far. But again, I was a very round kid at 300 pounds, and I had no athletic background whatsoever. So it seemed insurmountable to my friends.
That's awesome, man. You're gonna be like flashbacks, but like Jake the Snake Roberts, and like, because I was like watching, and then I met him like years ago at House of Glory show. And the funny thing is I went to go take a picture, and they were having a problem with the camera, and like I had my face like next to his face, and then I was like, oh, the camera's not working. He's like, no, stay until I fix it.
Yeah, I finally met him. I was on a show with him in California, mm-hmm. and he couldn't have been nicer. And I told him that story where I was mm-hmm. like, you traumatized me as a child, you know that. Mm-hmm. And he immediately was like, was it when we let the snake bite Randy? And I was like, no, it was the one where the guy sat on the snake. And he starts laughing, and he says, yeah, we did a lot of crazy shit.
It's funny, you're telling this story, and in my head, all I can think of is like when you're scrolling on TikTok and all the parents that are traumatizing all the kids with the Grinch. Have you seen like a whole bunch of these videos? And I'm like, it's like you laugh, but at the same time, it's like, oh my God, this is so traumatizing for these kids that they're little. And for anybody who doesn't know what I'm talking about, is they're having someone dress up as the Grinch and come in and steal all the presents, telling the kids, well, you were bad and like you didn't listen, and we told you the Grinch was gonna come and take all your presents.
Yeah, it's a lot of parents willing to traumatize their kids for clout.
Yeah, it's like,
it's very strange.
I'm like, that's not cool. Like, it's so messed up. Like, I can't. Like, this is the reason why therapists are
yeah it's a lucrative business.
Terrible, absolutely terrible. All right, so for the fan, obviously, like, I've seen you multiple times in person wrestle, okay, but for the fan that's never seen you wrestle before, what's the go-to match that you would recommend for them to watch to become an instant fan of yours?
Wow, that's a hard question. I think it would have to be something a little more recent, and probably it would be me and Travis Huckabee from Pro Wrestling Grind. Um, we were, I believe it was Overkill. I can never remember which show was which for
Yeah.
which opponent. We were the main event. We were the first story that sort of happened in Grind. At the second show, Travis was wrestling against Myung Jae Lee, who's a good friend. We kind of joke that he's one of my sons. And after the match, after Travis won, he just continued to stomp on Myung Jae Lee, and I was out watching the whole thing from the merch table. So I went and hopped the barricade and ran in and chased him off. And yeah, so we had a main event match because I didn't like the way he was. I didn't like the way he was behaving in a place that kind of wants to represent wrestling in a different way
Yeah.
over at Pro Wrestling Grind. So yeah, the next show came and we were the main event, and we fought all over. Travis was bleeding. I hit probably one of the highest speed parry go rounds that I've ever hit. And I did not win the match, but I hopefully won some fans.
Yeah, so good. Oh man. So actually, you know what? Let's talk about Pro Wrestling Grind. So
Yeah.
I love it. Anybody who hasn't watched my interviews with Rip Bison or Delmy XO, definitely go check those out on the podcast. I've done backstage interviews, as you guys can see on the Indie Talks episodes on the Indie Wrestling Corner. Go check those out if you're not familiar with Grind. So obviously, I'm a big fan of Grind. So man, so it's crazy. Like this whole year, like it's just like exploded. But I guess like let's talk about some of like your favorite moments at Grind, for someone who hasn't watched it.
Yeah. So I mean, selfishly, a lot of my favorite moments will involve me. The first show stands out to me because Rip Bison and Delmy XO. For a long time, Rip and I said we were not friends. We would not cop to being friends. Since then, Rip was the first one to finally give in and just say, "This is silly. Like people know we're friends. We travel together everywhere. We're in each other's vlogs and stuff." Yeah, Rip and Delmy have become really good friends of mine. And when the time came where Rip said we're starting a wrestling promotion, I had two things to say to him. The first was I would not wish running a wrestling promotion on my worst enemy,
Oh no.
but more power to you. And the second was don't book me unless you think it's right for the product. Like, don't book me because I'm your friend. Don't book me because we travel together or because, like, I've helped you get booked these places. You've helped me get booked these places. Don't book me because you feel like you owe me a favor or something. Only use me if I'm right for what you're trying to do. And his response was, yeah, maybe we don't use you on the first show, and maybe the second show or something. And I was like, great, perfect. And I was still around helping when their ring arrived. I was there to help take the literally taking the like plastic wrap off of it, taking it off a pallet and assembling it for the first time with them. And the first show I was there setting up, and literally a couple of days before the first show, I got a message from Rip, and it just said, "Hey, can you have a match on the show?" And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "Yeah, someone had to drop out. We got to switch some things around." And I thought, like, okay, well, you know what? If I wasn't a first round pick for someone who's a friend of mine, I'm going to have to go out and show out here and make this really count. Make him think like, yeah, no, he's got to stick around. And I thought I was going to have to go out and work very hard in the match. The first few seconds when I came through those doors, I don't know what got into that crowd. It was one of the first times I'd been the human monster truck in front of an audience, when I'd really been myself. I came through those doors and the place came unglued. Like, it was a huge pop that I was not expecting, because this is a first time audience. They lost it for me just on my entrance. And then I went out and I wrestled Brandon Watts from Milk Chocolate, and I won that match. And afterwards I came back, and the first thing Delmy said was, "Yeah, so I guess we have to use you every show now." And I was like, "Yeah, I don't know what that was all about. I guess they liked me."
Aw.
And they have stayed that way ever since. Another moment that really stands out to me was at RPM Fest, a heavy metal festival that takes place in Turner's Falls, Mass. We were the end of the festival. We had the ring there, and we were like the closeout moment. All the stages were done, and all the heavy metal kids who camp out for the whole weekend, it's at a big campground. We were the only thing going on, and they all came to the ring. And on my intro, Rich Palladino was our announcer that night. When he was introducing me, he had to stop in the middle of introducing me because the place was going nuts for me. And he and I kind of had a moment of looking at each other like, wow. And part of that is probably it's literally next door to my hometown. I grew up less than 6 miles from where that event was taking place. The festival is run by the drummer from the punk band I was in when I was getting out of high school, that we did Warped Tour and stuff together, and now he runs that festival. And then I was the first New England wrestler on the show. Like, the first match was 2 New York wrestlers, and then there was me. Mm-hmm. So the hometown crowd just like really, really cared. Like they went nuts. And then that match was great. That was me and Channing Thomas, and Channing Thomas is such a talent. So that was really, really cool to work with him, having known him through so much of his career and watching him grow up into who he is now. And then I think the other one's it doesn't involve me. It was watching Jay Freddy, who I've known for a really long time, become the first ever Grind Grand Champion. Everything about that moment felt right. From it being Jay Freddy to being Jay Freddy defeating Travis Huckabee to the grind door getting smashed in that match after a year of service. Yeah, it's an incredible company, and I think what Rip and Delmy are doing is really special. Like it's just growing it to be a really special place.
Yeah, I love the feel of it, so I'm glad I've been able to come up for a couple of the shows, and even just randomly talking to people and just being there. Anybody who hasn't gone, you should go. Just to feel it. It's the energy, and that's one of my favorite things about being up there. And I'm like, damn, I was like, this should be at every indie wrestling promotion, not dead, alive, getting into with you guys, heel or face, whatever it is. Obviously I like to mess with Mike Skyros, but I do that
is that why he's sad?
He's so sad.
Mike, if you see this, I did not say you were sad. I would never say that. You're a big supporter of mine.
Hi Mike. He's in the chat.
I didn't say you were sad. I just know people say you're sad, and I was wondering if there was something to.
He needs a puppy or something like that. I don't know. He was sad with Santa Claus, but no. I love Mike, and it all love. It's I like messing with Mike, but he said never mind. all the love, Mike. You know it, absolutely. Yeah, but no, in all seriousness, if you're not watching Grind, get on the Grind train. It needs all the love and the support. Everybody should be tuning into this promotion. It's up and coming, and it's amazing people, definitely. So, but yeah, obviously, you and Rip had so many matches together. It's always special with that. When Delmy was on this podcast, I want to talk about this too, because before I lose the train of thought of it, and Delmy was talking about the monster trucks, and I was like, when are you guys gonna let him come out with the monster truck? So first, tell us a little bit about the love for the monster trucks, and when you're gonna come out to grind for monster truck.
As far as when I'm coming out with the monster truck, that's largely on Delmy and Rip. That's a budgetary issue. It is not cheap to get a monster truck at the shows. I have been looking at some Power Wheels monster trucks online, and that may happen eventually. Not right away, but it's on my radar. As far as the love and interest in monster trucks I have, it was the first thing, like when a kid's really, really like truly little and they're just starting to talk and have opinions and
Mm-hmm.
ideas. The first thing that I ever came home from the babysitters that was like a new interest that I could bring up to my parents was when I was 2. And I came home from the babysitters and I was like, I want to watch monster trucks. And they were like, we don't know what that is. What are you talking about? And I was like, monster trucks. The kid at the babysitter had a video. And so they had to call the babysitter and say, what is this? Is this a cartoon or something? What is that? And the babysitter explained what it was, and my parents were able to get the other kid at the babysitter's mom to dub the tape back when you stacked the 2 VCRs and you would
Yes.
dub a tape because I'm 1,000 years old. Um, they dubbed the tape, and so I had a copy of a special that had aired at the time, like just brand new. It was the second time monster trucks had been on television, and it was called Return of the Monster Trucks. And I watched that until that VHS did not function properly anymore. They had a series of toys that came out at the time from Matchbox called the Superchargers that were the monster trucks from that special.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a handful of those, and that was just like a really special part of my childhood that I was kind of into until like probably middle of middle school, somewhere like that, when I discovered wrestling. I've always had an affinity for the redneck arts, it turns out. So I'd been into that a lot, and then when I got older, I would get little flashes of it here and there. When I was in my late 20s, I was surfing around Amazon Prime Video, and I saw that Return of the Monster Trucks was on there. And I was like, whoa, no way. I wonder if this is still good now that I'm not 5. And so I played it, and it is still a delight to watch. But what was crazy is my wife was sitting in the room with me while I'm watching it, and she kept laughing. And I finally asked her what was so funny, and she says, you do know that you're saying parts of this out loud with it. And I didn't notice, but I could still like recite lines that the commentators were saying because I'd watched it so much when I was little. It had been almost 30 years since I had watched it.
Right.
And I could still just like say lines along with the commentators because I knew everything that was going to happen. Then during the pandemic, so pre-pandemic, I had another little glimpse into it. Rip and I and Delmy were booked in Chicago. And Delmy, because she's a big star, was being flown back to do a different show. And Rip and I were left in the rental car driving back. And so we decided we would stop just off the highway in Indiana at the International Monster Truck Hall of Fame and Museum and look at some old monster trucks because we both got a kick out of that. And it was amazing. It was so great. They were trucks from when I was a little kid that had been fully restored and were just in this room that you could walk around and look at them, which I didn't really know existed until maybe a week before we went out there.
Oh wow.
And then I didn't think much of it again. And then during the pandemic, the first summer of the pandemic, my birthday came around, and my wife got me, because I had mentioned to her that same toy series from Matchbox had a play set, like an arena play set that I never had when I was a kid. I had like begged and begged for it and just never got it. And she had gone online and found it.
Oh wow.
And she got that for me. And when I got it, I was opening it because it's also like a carrying case.
Yeah.
And she goes, I don't think there's anything in it. And I was like, I don't know. It sounds like there's something in it. And I opened it, and a bunch of the trucks were in it. She didn't know that they came with it. She was like, you'll have to find some of the trucks. And they were with it. And it was amazing. And so now I've gone full tilt into collecting all of them. And it's taking up a lot of space on... I've got shelves on the bedroom walls just covered with these 1980s Matchbox monster trucks. But that's what led to the character, because
Right.
I was I mean, playing with is maybe not the word, but I was, kind of like closely examining all these toys, and I'm Googling other ones during the pandemic when nothing's happening. And I just, we were all trying to fill the timeline and trying to fill our time because we were stuck at home. And I just tweeted, I'm Perry Von Vicious. I'm a human monster truck. And I got messages from a bunch of my friends that were like, you got to keep that. That's really good. Wow. And then, of all people, Danhausen, when I saw him when the world started to open up a little bit, told me, like, that's really good. Like, that's going to be a merch machine for you. Having monster trucks on your merch, like, that's brilliant. And if anybody knows good merch marketing, it's going to be Danhausen.
Yeah.
So I decided to run with it as a character. And it meant that, I had my shirts were very different from everyone else's. And the character's easy enough. I'm just big and I crush people. It's not complicated. And then I got a 3D printer that Christmas and started teaching myself to 3D model. And that's where now I have the little monster truck toys I sell that are modeled after and scale with those original toys that I collect. And it's why those were really special to me, because when I designed them, I made a little me hanging out the window driving. And I was like, that's the toy that 3-year-old Perry wanted when he had his little toys in the 80s.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. And the fact that they've been really popular and sold really well is even better, because it means that not only did 3-year-old me want a monster truck of me driving it, a bunch of people now want a monster truck with me driving it, which is very cool.
Yeah, that's so, and it's different, right? Like, it's different than, like, the normal pins, buttons, things like that. It's original.
Yeah, and even the shirt designs are different, because when you go down a merch table, the shirts are person's face and their name, person's face and their name, catchphrase and name, catchphrase and name, and then monster truck.
Yeah.
It's very distinctly different.
So awesome. That's so cool. I love that. I didn't even know that. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Oh man. All right, so let's look at another promotion, because there's a couple of promotions I definitely want to talk about with you. All right, let's talk Wrestle Open, because another one that you guys are going to see at Wrestleville this Thursday at 7:00. So make sure, if you're not going, 7:00 IWTV, check it out. So Eastern time, by the way. So but yeah, so let's talk a little bit about Wrestle Open. I mean, I love it. I love, like, everything about it. I love that for me, as I tell anybody that comes out of this podcast that goes to Wrestle Open, it's cool for me because of the fact of me living in New York and following a lot between, like, Jersey, Pennsylvania, wherever, and then coming up to Massachusetts, and then you have, like, the cross space of, like, Connecticut, Massachusetts, Maine, then you have, like, even people traveling from Canada and stuff. So then you're having different, like, kind of promotions colliding, I feel like, at Wrestle Open, which is great. So obviously, like, we just saw you and Rip you guys teamed together a lot at Wrestling Open. So talk to us a little bit about your experience with it.
Yeah, so it's actually been kind of cool. When I was first moving back from California, I was out there for 8 years. Right after I started wrestling, I wrestled for a year, moved out to California, wrestled there for 8 years, came back. I mean, at that point, this is now 6 years ago almost. The promotion on your radar is Beyond. Like, if you're moving back to the East Coast, that's the place you want to be. So, it's not an easy place to get in. So you work at it, you stay in contact with people, you try to, like, get a little more popularity here and there and see if you can find your way in. And then Wrestling Open started. And it was like, oh, this might be the way. This could be the chance. And I was on a couple times early on, just little spot things, a singles match here, a random tag match here, whatever it was. And then one week they said, oh, we're going to have you team with Rip. And Rip and I had been teaming even pre-pandemic as Mutually Assured Destruction, or MAD, a name we picked because we had wrestled against each other so much that we were kind of sick of it. And we thought, if we're a tag team, maybe we won't have to wrestle each other anymore. And, the idea of Mutually Assured Destruction in the greater world, where it's, two superpowers who are at war, call a ceasefire, because they know that if one shoots a nuke, the other will shoot a nuke, and everyone's gone. So mutually assured destruction is the thing that keeps the peace. Felt like the perfect name for us. It was like we were calling a ceasefire on each other to team up. And then we slowly started to be a little bit more like each other. Like our characters got a little bit more similar over time. He was a very different character. I don't know if he even talks about the old character anymore, but it was a very cartoony 80s character, and so was mine. I was sort of a rich snob, Ted DiBiase, Triple H in the early years character. And when we started teaming, both of those characters kind of fell away, and he became Rip Bison, and my rich snob character fell away, and I started to turn more closer to the human monster truck. And then when the pandemic came, Rip had a lot of freedom to go do tapings with Limitless, and I, breaking the fourth wall outside of Human Monster Truck, the normal human me. I live about 10 minutes up the road from my parents, who are in their 70s, and during the pandemic, I wanted to make sure that I would be available if they needed something. So going somewhere where I ran the risk of possibly bringing COVID back with me was very much out of the question. I did one taping for Limitless, and that was after like weeks and weeks of like making sure my parents were set and settled, and that if I had to stay away from them for 10 days, 14 days, whatever it was, they'd be fine. But Rip is a bit younger than me, and his parents then are a bit younger than my parents, so they're fine on their own.
Yeah.
So he had the freedom to go do these tapings, which sent him on an incredible singles tear. And when the world started to open up, I was very quick to say, hey, I don't expect us to be tagging, man. You've got a great thing going here. Let's just do our own thing. If it comes up again, it comes up again. And now it's come up again. And, we're both, indie wrestling has a lot of incredible athletes right now who are on the smaller side. What we kind of traditionally call cruiserweights, and they're incredible. I can't do 90% of what they do, and watching them boggles my mind. When I watch, tag teams like Miracle Generation, when I watch, a guy like Desmond Cole, Big Boofa, I watch any of them, I'm just blown away. But still a place out there for a couple of giants, and I think Rip Bison and the Human Monster Truck together, that's a force to overcome. We can pick up just about anybody and chuck them around, and there's something to be said for that. And at Wrestling Open, that's exactly what we've been doing, and it has been a blast to team again, because we were already traveling together and working on stuff together, and now we get to work on our matches together. And it's been a lot of fun. The audience there has really embraced us very quickly, which is always, amazing and welcome and kind of surprising to me. Like, I never just assume an audience will like me, and they certainly seem to. Yeah. And honestly, like, again, behind the scenes a little bit, the atmosphere there is fantastic. It's a great roster full of great people that it's a delight to see them every week. And selfishly, it's nearby, which is awfully
even
nice.
better.
Yeah.
That's awesome. John's in the chat. What's going on, John? He said, howdy, Perry. Are you ready to beat up Stetson Thursday?
Oh, man, I'm so ready to beat up Stetson. BRG, I'm also ready to beat up. The Stetson Ranch as a crew, I'm ready to beat them both up. BRG is another one I've watched develop as a talent, and I have nothing but good things to say about his abilities. He's so fast, scary fast. He goes from 0 to 60 like nobody's business. And Stetson's a big guy who can, when he gets swinging a lariat around, it lands. It's violent and a little bit scary. But, at this point, I've thrown Stetson for our old finish, the threat level Midnight, and he's a big boy. I can chuck him around, and if you find the footage from a little company called NCW, I've definitely given BRG a few power bombs and merry-go-rounds, So I'm ready to do that again, and I know Rip's got some ideas on things he'd like to do in that match. So yeah, definitely ready to beat up Stetson Ranch.
Ooh, I'm here for it. Again, this Thursday, 7 o'clock special time. Check it out. Oh, man. All right, so thanks, John, in the chat. Can't wait to see you this week. I know everybody's been like, when are you coming back? When are you coming back? I'm coming. I'm coming this week. It's been a minute since I've been there. All right, let's talk Blitzkrieg, because that's another promotion that I've been watching a lot of it's nice because I've been coming up to Massachusetts a lot and Connecticut more. But I've been following a lot of these promotions even before. Blitzkrieg is one, and that was definitely on the bucket list this year that I was like, okay, I need to physically go into that building. I was like, so I got to do the 2-day, which was amazing. Blitzkrieg versus Limitless. If you have not watched it, you should be watching these shows. All right. So let's talk about the 2-day. So first, let's talk about the scramble match, because this was just fun. Okay, I was living for this scramble. So you, Rip, Delmy, BRG, Logan Black, Dante Drago, like, I mean, come on. Like, this was fuckery. Like,
Oh yeah. I mean, and what a lineup in that match. I mean, Dante and BRG are the closest things in that match to rookies, and you talk about two young guys who can go. I mean, keeping up with them is a daunting challenge. And then there's me, Logan, and Rip, who are all great big dudes that'll chuck people around and hit people really hard. And then there's my protege, my kid sister, the true heavyweight of the match, Delmy Exo. I mean, yeah, when I heard that was the lineup, first I was a little surprised, because usually at Blitzkrieg, I'm teaming with Leary, and we're a tag team there called A Message to You. So usually I'm expecting that to be what I'm up to there, and I found out it was only a few days ahead of time they announced that scramble that I was flying solo and that I was going to be in the ring with those five. Yeah, so it was really something else. And yeah, there was, if you get a chance to watch the match, there was a moment there where Delmy's a strong kid. I don't know what was going through her mind, but she tried to hook me for a package pile driver. I was close to the heaviest person in that match, and it did not work out for her. I don't know if it was one of those things like, she was just really amped up and was like, I can do this. But she hooked me for it, and I had a moment in my head where I went, really? Okay, all right. I mean, give it a shot. But yeah, it was a delight. That's the closest I've come to working to having a singles match with Delmy. It's something that I've never done, that I'd like to do, but she so far refuses. Even though I trained her, she refuses.
no refusing. This match would be amazing.
Yeah, she won't do it, and I think it's because she's worried that if I get that match, then I've got nothing keeping me in, and I'll retire. I think she thinks that's what's going on.
Oh.
I think she's just scared of me.
Nah, it was so good. Like, all the interact, even like her and Logan Black, and it was like, come on. It was like, oh, I was like living for this match. It's good. So if anybody who hasn't watched this, watch it. It's definitely one of my favorites. So, but yeah, I was like, Delvy's little beast over here. I was like, she hanging with all the guys. I was like, I love it. I was like, Dante fell by me. I gave him a chocolate chip cookie. Asked for one of the chocolate chip cookies in my hand. So he did have a chocolate chip cookie. That was pretty funny. I mean, even like me going through my phone and even like clips, like BRG, he's amazing. Like everybody, Logan Black, I know forever.
Yeah.
Like it's just it's another great roster. So I'm glad that I can definitely get there. John says can't wait to see Perry at Grind as well. First Grind show every. What is Grind like? Oh, we talked about that, but you're in for it.
Yeah. I know so when Delmy and Rip were first starting Grind, they had a real specific vision, and they've worked, and they continue to work very hard to make that a reality. They want it to feel so different from the other experiences. So they see a black curtain on every show that people come through, and they said, no, we're going to do sliding doors like the old WCW. And they see, everyone sort of has like a plain ring canvas, and they said, no, 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 we're going to do really, really clean lines painted with the logo on it. They wanted it to feel a little bit like early Ring of Honor or early 2000s Noah. They wanted that vibe, and that's not a thing that you find too much in the indies.
Yeah.
And the fact that right out of the gate, day one, it wasn't like, oh, we're gonna get the good stuff next month, or we're gonna get we'll get this nice thing for the ring next month. Day one, they had a beautiful brand new ring. They had a beautiful painted canvas. They had the sliding doors. They had proper curtains everywhere. They had guardrails that they bought. They had professional lights. They did everything from day one, and it was because they wanted this to feel different.
Yeah.
And talking with other roster members, the fans feel it for sure. When you walk in, it feels different. It feels different to the wrestlers. It's a little intimidating. Even like I've been on every show. It's intimidating to me when I'm in that room and that ring is set up and the lights are going and everything is there, because it feels like another level from a lot of what you see on the indies. And so you push yourself a little harder and you expect a little more from your opponent. And yeah, it drives all of us to work a lot harder and maybe take some risks you might not see other places.
John, you're gonna love it. Like, that's the nice thing, is like there is not one bad match. Every match is amazing. It's like they're all like out topping each other. It's like, damn, I need a cigarette. I don't even smoke, and I feel like I need a cigarette after every match.
And it only makes it more intimidating.
Yeah.
I see what other matches are on the show, and I think, oh, geez, I might be the worst match of the show. And then you go out and you go, wow, that was really good. I'm pretty confident. And then you watch like Gary J, you watch Jay Freddy, you watch Rick Bison, you see Delmy in the ring. You're watching Skyros and Huckabee, and I mean, it's a roster of guys and guys and gals that are hungry and want to turn heads, not just for themselves but for the company, because we all really believe in what they're doing.
Yeah, and it was cool to see also like fancy Ryan Clancy, like I mean like him and Jung Young Lee, like I was like, holy fuck. I was just talking about that match the other day to a promoter. I was like, if you want to see a really showcase match with these two guys, I was like, that's the match I was like to watch. And then they were telling me, they're like, oh, it's funny because like Ryan sent the video over to the promoter. And I was like, see? I was like, I told you. I said, you wanted to showcase? I said, that's the match of the showcase, which was that grind. I still love Anthony Henry versus Travis Huckabee. That's probably like still my match of 2022, believe it or not. So it's so good. It's definitely. So I'm excited for John to definitely experience grind. It's amazing. So, all right, let's go back to Blitzkrieg because I want to bring this up because it made me die laughing. Okay, so we have to talk about Mercy Me, where Dante Drago tried to chokeslam you, and he started screaming the chokeslam champion, and he tried to chokeslam Redbeard, and that didn't go as well, but it popped me. Okay, it's just a little backstory of it, because I don't know if you realize like where it comes from. It comes from this podcast, the whole Chokeslam Champion thing, and it was when the Vlogbro University versus Miracle Generation versus Waves and Curls, and I had Vlogbros on the podcast, and Trayvon came into the chat, and he said that he was going to chokeslam everybody, including the promoter, including me, including Shaylin. So that was like the joke going on. So then all of a sudden it started screaming, I'm the chokeslam champion. And I made a belt. So when Dante did that at the show, I was watching here, it popped the shit out of me, confused the shit out of fucking commentary. So then it was funny because Dante went from that show to VPW in Long Island, and I was going to that show, so I missed half the show. But I watched that part, popped the shit out of me. So when I saw him at VPW, I was like, you popped the shit out of me. I was like, you're saying that you're the chokeslam champion, bitch. And then he died.
Yeah, I mean...
And then he died.
Dante's a strong kid. I won't take that away from him, but He thought he was going to chokeslam me and Eric Redbeard at the same time. Uh, Again, I think this is a little bit like Delmy trying to hook me for the package pile driver. He just got really hyped up and thought he bit off a little more than he could chew, I think.
Well, it was funny. And just for anybody who knows, I just dropped it earlier that I am doing the Chokeslam Chronicles next week. That's going to be my first podcast of 2023. So we'll have Kylan King, Dante Drago, and Trayvon Jordan on this podcast, and they're just going to fight it up. So make sure you tune in next week for that. But yeah, I wanted to bring that up because I was like, that was it. I died in the apartment. I just like lost my shit. I was like, wow, he really went to another promotion to do for the jokes there. So anyway, all right, let's move on to some fan tweets. All right, so Tyler from New Hampshire, shout out to him. So he wants me to ask you about Uncle Sid.
Oh yeah. Uncle Sid. So because I'm Perry Von Vicious, Psycho Sid Vicious is definitely my uncle. Definitely my uncle. And because I'm big, I'm a little bit lanky, kind of like Sid. Blonde hair, kind of like Sid. That was enough for me. So I just started telling people that I was Uncle Sid's favorite nephew, which is also again, I'm a huge nerd. I'm obsessed with novelty music and comedy artists. The Smothers Brothers, who were before any of our time, are one of my absolute favorites. And one of their catchphrases was Dickie Smothers would always tell Tommy, Mom always liked you best. And when they would get introduced on stage, they would be announced as Mother Smothers' favorite son and the other one. So I figure I'm Uncle Sid's favorite nephew, which is kind of a nod to the Smothers Brothers, which is way nerdier than anyone needs to know. And yeah, because I like to throw a power bomb, just like Uncle Sid. I like to throw a choke slam, just like Uncle Sid. It made perfect sense to me. And when I started wearing the, when MAD first formed, me and Rip Bison, we were wearing leather vests with spikes to the ring. And, Uncle Sid used to wear black trunks and a leather vest to the ring. So I was even dressing a lot like him at the time. And, being on the road with Rip makes me feel a little bit like I'm losing my mind. So, yeah, a lot in common with Uncle Sid.
Yeah, he was like, make sure you ask that. I was like, I got you. So, but now you bring up Chokeslam. So, are you going to throw your name into the hat for Chokeslam champions?
So, Rip Bison and I debuted our new finish last week at Wrestling Open, and it's very vague because it won't be the same every time. But essentially, any chokeslam variant is now our team finish. 2 of us on one, a dual chokeslam where we're both chokeslamming the guys. We've got some really cool 2-on-1 chokeslam ideas that we're going to try out. And no matter what version of it is, we call it the same thing. It is the Monster Mash. And yeah, I think Rip and I are both definitely chokeslam champions.
Oh, okay, wait, hold on. Let me pull out the belt.
Oh, no.
The belt is coming out. All right, so this is... we're going to break it down next week, but this is the Chokeslam Championship belt. All right.
Wow.
I designed it. Okay. And it was really for NFW, for shout out to Cody, that we were doing it because it was because of NFW podcast panel that we were doing. So it's got the NFW plates on it. But yeah, I designed the belt. So I don't know. So, I know that Trayvon and Dante are all welcoming to anybody into this Chokeslam Championship.
That's what they think until they find out that me and Rip Bison are possible contenders. Then they might not be so welcoming.
Yeah, I know. Like, I had conversations with them, and I was like, Sawyer Wreck might actually be a contender in here too. I was like, you don't know. Kylan jumped in on it. So anybody who watched my latest Indie Talks, Dante and Kylan and Jack Tomlinson were fighting over the belt. So, but yeah, I don't know. So we're putting it out there. I know whoever winds up being the champion, they welcome anybody for this. so ridiculous. All right, let's do another fan tweet. Good cop,
Write
bad
that
cop.
down.
He said, Perry Von Vicious being an anagram of curvy rope vision. Have you ever had your vision affected in a match so the ropes appear curvy instead of straight, or some other optical peculiarity?
Well, as a proud English major, I appreciate the anagram. That I can appreciate that as being the first place your brain goes to. No, that has not happened to me. But I will say I have to wrestle without my glasses, and my vision's not that bad, so I can see everything in the ring pretty good. But if I need to know exactly who's sitting in the front row, it's a little bit of a guessing game, which means whenever you see me do a dive out of the ring onto somebody, I'm mostly sure I'm diving on my opponent, but it could just be some random guy who got up for a soda out of the crowd. I just see a body and shoot myself. So no, I've not been hit hard enough to make the ropes appear curvy. But if I'm far enough away on one side of the ring, they can be a little fuzzy, maybe.
There you go. I think that's close. Oh man! Shout out to Heel Pops and Chair Shots in the chat. What's going on? How are you? Much love. Miss you all, you guys. Go check them out as well. Love those boys. All right, there was more. Okay, we have another fan tweet from Everything Pro Wrestling. Another one of my friends. Shout out to Conrad. Much love. Go give him some love and support. All right, he's got 2 questions. First one is, favorite wrestling move you haven't added to your moveset?
Wow. So probably the Burning Hammer. Such an iconic and terrifying move. I've never hit it on anybody, but Rip does. So for right now, I'm gonna let him be the one on our team that throws the Burning Hammer. He's hit it on me before. Not the most pleasant experience. So yeah, I think that's probably my favorite that I haven't done.
That was a good question. Definitely like that one. All right, and then, oh God, he's asking, is cereal a soup? What? He comes out with the most outrageous questions.
I think if cereal was a soup, you would refer to it as a soup.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have to say, is cereal a soup? It would just be, oh yeah, I'm having some cereal soup this morning. Right? Like, isn't that?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe I'm the wrong one to ask.
It's his running theme on this podcast of like making people upset on this podcast about cereal and sandwiches, and I don't know if you saw that with the Miracle Jen ripping on me with because he asked that question of do you pour your cereal in first and then your milk, or do you pour your milk in first and then your cereal? So
people
it's
get
set
mad
off.
about that answer.
Oh.
People get mad.
They get mad. Oh my God. Miracle Jen went on a rip. They said block them if you pour your milk in first. And like, it was.
I mean, I don't know if I'd say block them for that, but they are right. They are right. It's cereal first. I mean, it's anything else is just insane. Cereal floats. How do you know when you've poured enough cereal? It's floating. There could be a gallon of milk underneath it, and it would look like a full bowl of cereal. You've got hardly any cereal. Anyways, Miracle Jen is right. They're my cousins, and I trust them.
There you go. Hi, Ashley, in the chat. What's going on? Definitely check out TWM. Also, check us out on We Talk Indies every other Monday on Ashley's channel, Twitch channel. So thanks for some love. All right, so here's a fun one that's dear to my heart: wrestling with positivity. Since there's so much negative in the world of wrestling, I like to focus on the positive. So is there anything that you can share, something maybe you've done for a wrestler, maybe a wrestler's done for you, maybe a fan's done for you, maybe something you've done for a fan, something that we wouldn't normally know about unless you would share it?
I mean, there's so many. Mostly people doing stuff for me. I try to do nice things for people, but I'd have to be a way bigger asshole than I am to go on a rant talking about all the nice things I've done for people. Instead, I'll talk about some nice things that folks have done for me. Most recently, there is a fan that comes to Wrestling Open who is a huge monster truck fan. He runs a page on Facebook called The Monster Truck Nerd.
Oh, wow.
And he saw that I had tweeted. There's an early '90s monster truck trading card set that I had when I was a kid that I found at my parents' house still, and I was only missing 2 cards to have a complete set. And he saw the tweet, and when he saw me at the show, he mentioned it and said, "Whatever they are, I know I've got them. So shoot me a message, tell me which ones you need."
Wow.
And he's bringing them this Thursday. So I will, after close to 30 years, I'll finally have a complete collection of those cards. So that's pretty cool. I've had other fans who follow me on Twitter like send me a message and say, "Hey, this was over the pandemic." They'd say, "Hey, I was at my parents' house for Thanksgiving or whatever, and I found my old box of monster truck toys. Do you want them?"
Oh, wow.
And they just sent me their old toys to add to my collection. So yeah, I've found that when I started being a lot more myself in wrestling, people gravitated toward that and also wanted to share their experience with similar things. So like I've had people bring me like Weird Al memorabilia because they know that I'm a huge Weird Al fan. I've had people have sent me like stickers from monster truck things when they were a kid, or they save like the old Psycho Sid cards from like the old WCW series, and they bring those to me because they know he's my Uncle Sid. Mm-hmm. So yeah, as soon as I started being myself in wrestling, everyone else just fell in love with me. Yeah. So yeah, I don't think I could say anything more positive than that.
That's amazing. Oh man, now I'm like thinking, and then I'm gonna get to Ashley's question in the chat. Like, well, I'm thinking it was like, can you imagine like a match where it involves like, you know, you got like death matches, right? And like there's like the interspecies wrestling where you have like the Lego matches and stuff like that. Would you ever do like a match where like a whole bunch of like mini monster trucks in the ring?
I would be heartbroken to see them get broken. And I'm not typically a death match guy, but I feel like that match in particular would be kind of real specific to me.
Right.
So I feel like I'd kind of have to be in it.
Yeah.
I will say I tried to give a Gravedigger toy to Troy Nelson over the summer at Blitzkrieg Pro's Beer Bash. Mm-hmm. And he stomped it, which sent me into like a Popeye getting his spinach rage where I cleaned house on the other team. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's the closest we've come to that. There were some monster truck parts still in the ring after that, but fortunately, nothing managed to puncture me.
Yeah, because those Legos, like, forget it. Like all the matches I've seen with so much love and respect to deathmatch wrestlers and those fun matches out there. But oh my god! But all right, Ashley's got a question in the chat. She goes, "What do you think they do with the leftover pumpkins after Halloween from the stores?"
So I assume most of them are going bad. So I would guess a lot of them end up being composted. I like to think that they all end up in those cute videos you see at the zoos where they give like the tigers or they give the hippos a pumpkin to eat and play with. I like to think that's where they all end up, but I know the numbers don't add up. There's too many pumpkins, not enough cute animals.
We need to put them into matches. Definitely.
So years ago, I definitely had a jack-o'-lantern stuck on my head in a match, and I proceeded to run around clotheslining people while I couldn't really see.
Yeah.
And then the wrestler ZPB, who just debuted at Grind, he was my first match 15 years ago. But in this match, just a couple years back, while I still had the pumpkin on my head, he came running in the corner and did that Rikishi ass to head move, and the pumpkin exploded off my head. Oh. So yeah, I've been in a match or two where there's been a pumpkin involved.
I feel like that should be like more that we should see that. Definitely. I mean, I saw just yesterday, I saw Christmas trees.
The craziness in that match specifically is the kind of craziness I think we should see all the time.
Definitely.
Smart Mark Sterling was in that match. It was a Halloween match. He dressed as a banana, and he took the banana costume off, and then someone slipped on it. Johnny Torres, who most people know as a commentator for Limitless and Blitzkrieg and Pro Wrestling Grind, was a wrestler. He debuted the same time I did, graduated wrestling school with me. He was in that match as Mario, and at one point got the star from under the ring, and the star music started playing, and he got superpowers. I was a Jedi. I was Peri-Wan Kenobi, and used the Force to take a lightsaber from Mark Sterling, and then had a lightsaber duel with ZPB, who was dressed as Olivia Newton-John from the Let's Get Physical video.
I'm dead.
So it was quite a sight.
I love those like Halloween themed like rumbles, and like I mean Creative Pro does it and they dress up like I like some of that, like the fun mixture.
Have some
Why not?
fun. Have some fun on the show.
Yeah, like, I love everything. You know, you have your technical. You know, like you'll have your flippy shit or whatever like that. Like give me the Halloween stuff, or the the Christmas trees, the Christmas tree death matches and stuff like that is great. So, Ashley said, just saying, I just been wondering, numbers don't add up. They just don't. So, but
I agree.
All right. So, what are some goals for you in 2023?
Again, as I mentioned, I'm about 1,000 years old. So if I can make it through 2023 without getting injured, that would be great. I feel like I've been pretty lucky over the last few years. But, as I get a lot closer to 40 than I am to 20, I feel like the body wants to get hurt a lot more than it used to. So, yeah, if I can avoid injury, that would be a great place to start. Beyond that, I would love to challenge for the Grind Grand Championship. I think Leary and I have we have a lot good going on as a team at Blitzkrieg, and I'd love to challenge for the Blitzkrieg Tag Championships. And then, Rip Bison and I have been on a bit of a tear at Wrestling Open, and I'm not sure how many wins in a row you need before you get a shot at their tag championship there, but we've got to be getting close to it. So that would be really interesting too, to have a championship opportunity at Wrestling Open. So I think those are kind of the goals I'm seeing right now.
Ooh, my Miracle Jen, they're coming for you.
I'm gonna show Kylon who the Chokeslam champion is. I'm gonna show him. Cousin Kylon's gonna learn.
I love the fact that also, like, at Grind, like, everybody's like, my son, my uncle.
Well, so the joke with Kylon and Dustin about being cousins is because we have the same. So they were trained by Paul Roma, who trained Kevin Landry, who trained me. So we're like, yeah, if you follow the family tree, it's not really cousins, but that's going to have to be close enough.
Right.
Like, that's probably the best description we can find.
Oh my God. And then Joseph Alexander is the son of Kylon, and then like that was a whole conversation. You can check out that interview too with Joseph.
And Myung Jae Lee is my son. Abs, who's often there helping out, is my son.
Yes. All these people, you guys should know all these names. All these people have been on the podcast. So Abs has been on this podcast. Much love for him too. It's nice seeing him like hang around. I miss him. Maybe I'll see him this weekend. You never know. All right, so I have one final question for you. If anybody else has any questions, drop it in the chat. Then we'll talk about, again, what's coming up this week and what's coming up for you. So I always like to end on a positive note. There are people that may be thinking about getting into wrestling, or there are trainees get into the business. We have a lot of that. So they always like to look for a piece of advice that you can give.
I think if there was anything I wish I'd been told sooner, I wish someone had told me to just do what you want in wrestling. When I was new, there was and again, this was a long time ago. This was 15 years ago. January 12th will be 15 years since my first match. It was very much do exactly what the vets on the show tell you to do. Just be lucky that you have your spot. Be happy that they're even using you. Now, this younger generation has wisened up, and they don't do that. Otherwise, I would just walk into every show and call the shots just because I've been around for a long time. But that's not how it is. It's I've heard MJF say it, talent over tenure. 100% that's what it is now.
Mm-hmm.
So it's anyone's show. Fancy Ryan Clancy, still super new. He can steal any show he's on because he's so athletic. Miracle Gen are also very new, and they can steal any show that they're on because they can go and they can do anything. Seeing that is really inspiring and should be super inspiring to aspiring wrestlers and trainees, because if you're good, if you work really hard and then you get to a show and you've got some cool ideas and you go out there and do something crazy, you really show out, you can take off. The rocket can be strapped to your back on the spot. There is no, I got to wait around because there's a bunch of old guys in the main event. That's their spot. I'm here to open the show. No. Anyone can be the main eventer now. So the sky's the limit if you're willing to go out there and just do the stuff that you think is cool. Because guarantee, if it's something you think is awesome and something you enjoy, there's an audience for it. They're going to love it.
Yeah. I think it's great advice. Definitely different advice on this podcast than what we're 207 episodes in.
Yeah, I guess not a lot of wrestlers would say, don't listen to everyone. It's maybe not the advice that everyone gives, but
yeah,
here we are.
Jay says, I want my son John to get into it. He's only 16, 5'9", and a buff fit 250. Sorry, Bacon.
Hey, so Bacon is a very old friend of mine. Mm-hmm. And when I first met him, he was 15. He came to the school and started training at 15. He was on shows tagging with me at age 15. I was his ride to practice for the first couple years that he was in wrestling because he was on my way. So being not 6 foot something and being, a big dude who's jacked and being super young, none of those are negatives.
Yeah.
Because he's killing it now and has been killing it for years. Yeah. He was a prodigy from day one. So
he's so good. I love him. Again, another interview. If you guys want to check it out, love him so much. He's so good. It was like, I look at him and I'm like, I just feel wrestler, right? Like without even when I first saw him, I was like, he just screams wrestler to me.
Yeah.
So I love him. So he's great. So one of my favorite heels going right now. So definitely with that. All right. So let's swing back to Wrestleville. Again, this is a very big week. So definitely if you can get there, you can still get tickets. I think you can still get tickets at the door for most of these shows. But you can buy an IWTV. You can buy the full package if you want, or you can buy for single shows. So definitely check this out. If you can't get there, IWTV is where it's at. So 9 shows in 3 days. I'm going to be drunk off wrestling, and I'm here for it. I don't think I've done 3 days worth of wrestling. I think I've only done 2. So
yeah, I think 2 might be the most. I mean, I've definitely done a lot of days in a row, but never in one place.
Yeah.
It's always been finish a show and drive through the night to the next show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, this is one place. I'm here for it. All right, so again, I'm gonna bring up the graphic here. So Wrestling Open this Thursday. Again, we talked a little bit earlier with you and Rick Bison teaming against the Stetson Ranch. So this is gonna be a banger. I'm all here for it. And also, so we didn't get to talk about Grind. So this Saturday, you guys are opening up at 12 o'clock Eastern time. So that's awesome. You and Warhorse. This is gonna be fun.
Yeah. It's a match I'm looking forward to. He's a big, loud character, very much like I am. Maybe not so much in this podcast. I'm a little more laid back, but bell to bell in front of an audience, the volume goes up, and there's something about this that's a little personal to me, because it was Rip's match with Warhorse right before the world shut down that sent Rip on a singles tear and effectively for a few years ended our tag team. So in some ways, I kind of blame Warhorse for me not having a tag partner for a couple of years. it's something that's rattled around in my brain a little bit. And I posted a promo for this. It's on my Twitter. It's on the Grind Twitter, the Instagram, any social media that I or Grind have any control over. It's there, where I mentioned that I'm feeling a little different going into this match. I might even look a little different when I get to the ring. I'm trying to draw a little inspiration from a different side of monster trucks. I've often worn blue with some red and yellow, the colors that Bigfoot always was, the very Hulk Hogan 80s style babyface monster truck. And this time I'm feeling a little different. Maybe feeling, I won't give anything away, but maybe feeling a little green and black. I don't know.
Well, everybody's got to tune on in this Saturday. Ooh, we're going to ring in the new year this Saturday. So crazy. This year went by so fast.
And I should mention there's no match announced yet, but I am going to be on Blitzkrieg Pro on Friday, 3 p.m. start time at Restival. It's the only match that hasn't been announced yet. So I don't think I'm allowed to say what it is. I can say I'm teaming with Leary, which will be a lot of fun. We have a good time when we're out there. He graduated wrestling school with me. We had our same first match on the same night. We were both in each other's first match 15 years ago. And this will be very close to exactly 15 years from there, and we'll be going out as tag partners. So that'll be a lot of fun.
I'm here for it, so I'll definitely see you at all the shows. So.
Yeah, but again, it hasn't been announced, so I can't say exactly who I might be fighting in that. I can't give it away. But could be anybody.
Yeah.
I'll just I won't say the name. Let's say that the name has been redacted. I won't say.
Okay.
I won't say
Yeah.
who though.
I don't know. So you guys tune on in this Friday again. So here I'm gonna put it back up for you guys this week, Thursday to Saturday. I'm ready for it. Again, if you're coming to the show, come say hi. Come say hi to me. And come say hi to Perry. Go buy some monster trucks.
Yeah. Come by the merch table. It's my favorite interaction. When people give me money, it's the best. or just come say hi, give me a fist bump, tell me to say hi to Uncle Sid for you.
There you go. Well, tell everybody where they could find you on the social media platforms and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, I'm one of the easiest to find because I was on most of the platforms nice and early and always get my name. I am at Perry Von Vicious on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Tumblr, TikTok, YouTube, I believe now deceased Hive, and as other alternatives spring up to our ever sinking ship that is Twitter, I'll probably join those too. You can find me pretty much anywhere at Perry Von Vicious.
Awesome. And all those links are in the description below. Also, his merch is there too, if you want to buy some merch, if you can't get to a show. So show some love and support. So awesome. Well, I think I covered everything. Was there anything else that we didn't cover?
I mean, we didn't get to talk about my chickens or the cats, but maybe another time.
We can talk about that if you like.
Well, I got one of them just off camera here who's taking a nap. It's the cat, not a chicken in the house. But yeah, the chickens have been a delight. They were a pandemic project that now we're just gonna be stuck with forever, I think.
Oh, that's awesome! Definitely.
And you can follow my chickens on Instagram at Sweet Chickies. It's a great account. My wife maintains that, and the chickens are they were born for stardom.
Aw, I love that. Go give a follow to that as well. Awesome. Well, I'll definitely see you, and I'm sure you'll be more in my backstage stuff at promotions. I'm probably going to vlog because people had told me that I should vlog this weekend. So you never know who's going to pop up on my vlog on the Indie Talks episode. So make sure you're subscribed.
I'll be vlogging too. You'll probably end up in my episode.
Oh, that'd be fun. We'll do like the double vlog.
Yeah, vlogception.
That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna be like, hey, pretty much. So, but awesome. Well, thank you again for coming on here and chatting with me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So, guys, again, I guess this is my last podcast for 2022. So thank you for all your love, your support. It wouldn't be here without all of you guys. So, and like I said, I'm gonna start off the new year with a bang, literally. So you never know who's gonna show up. I don't know, some more Chokeslam champions coming. So definitely tune in for that as well. So, pretty much that's it. So stay safe, support independent wrestling, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Have a good night.